Welcome back to the official Atari Games podcast. This is Jason here, and I am very excited for this one because we are talking all things Lunar Lander Beyond. Joining me today, we got Alvaro Martinez, director of Lunar Lander Beyond.
Hey,
Welcome, Alvaro. How you doing today?
hey, thank you. Doing great.
Great.
Thanks.
Also joined by Jeff Cardenas, the executive producer on the title. Jeff, how you
Thank you,
doing?
Jason. I'm doing well, Jason. Thank you for the invitation to the podcast.
Thank you for showing up. And we definitely had no technical difficulties whatsoever. We were absolutely flawless as always. And last and certainly least, we are joined by CEO of Dreams Uncorporated, Carlos Rocha. Welcome, Carlos. How you doing?
Hello, Jason. Thank you very much for having me. I thought you weren't gonna invite me, but thankfully you did. So I'm just super excited. It made my afternoon.
Great. Now, look, you caught a bit of a stray in the credits because your credit in the title as like design consultant, which is hilarious as the CEO of
I'm
Dreams.
happy Alvaro decided to include me in any way whatsoever. So
Well, we're happy to have you. Now, before we jump into that and all things Lunar Lander Beyond, we got to start with a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, this is the official Atari Games podcast. If you're listening to this on podcast services, please subscribe if you haven't done so. Review us if you haven't done so. That really helps. Give us 5 stars preferred. Honesty helps, but honesty under 5 stars is always the way to go. Also, join the Atari Discord. That is always linked in the description. So you click that link and join and discuss all things Lunar Lander Beyond or other things coming from Atari. And finally, now it is official. I mean, as of a few weeks prior to this releasing and in the future from when we're recording, try to wrap your head around that. Lunar Lander Beyond is officially coming out April 23rd on all platforms. That means PC via Steam and Epic, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, and Atari VCS.
Woo!
So go Wishlist, pre-order your platform of choice. Also, there is a physical edition, including a collector's edition for Switch with a very cool steelbook and art book that showcases all of the amazing art done by the team at Dreams Uncorporated, in addition to the animation team at Bewilder. So very cool stuff there. Lots of options for you. And yeah, look forward to that. That's it. That's all the stuff I have to say. I'll remind you about that at the end. Gentlemen, we're going to talk about Lunar Lander Beyond. But first, I got a warm-up question for you. And I had to think about this because I'm pretty sure I already asked prior the original question I wanted to on a different podcast, so I had to change it up. So here's what I'm going to ask you guys. Space. They're offering one-way tickets to space. You get to colonize Mars via Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or your other favorite billionaire who may or may not have a space program. Are you going? What's your interest level?
Yes.
Okay, why don't we start with you, Jeff? Why you're going? Why?
I will go for sure because I don't know. It's interesting. Be like at the first humans colonizing a planet. Like it's like at the beginning of the spatial exploration and all of that. I don't know. It's interesting. It's highly probable that I will die because of I don't know whatever the thing happens. But yeah, it will be cool to be one of the first humans in Mars.
You'll
one of
be
the first dead
memorialized one way or
humans on
another.
Mars.
What's that, Carlos?
One of the first dead humans on Mars.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Alvaro, what say you?
I don't know. I think I would stay here on Earth because Mars is a very harsh environment, and I'm an old guy, and now I prefer cozy places, and yeah, that kind of stuff. My adventuring time is over, So yeah, I would stay here.
All right. Carlos, what about you? What do you say? You going? You taking the trip?
So as I've shared with Jason and the rest of the team, I hate flying with all my heart. It gives me panic attacks. So I probably might not go. So, I like the idea. I would ask Jeff to send me selfies and pics for as long as he stays alive. But, on my end, I would really much prefer to be on the safe ground.
All right, fair enough. He'll send you a selfie, and then you'll have it in like about a month's time. I assume things would travel faster than that. Actually, I don't think we're
Uh,
at that point anyway. As for me,
and
no, I'm good.
But Jason, if that's it's something that I tell to a lot of people. But I mean, I've gone to several places, but I hate flying. So if anyone cares to invent teleportation,
Oh
from
yeah,
here
okay.
until that point, I will absolutely be there. I would love to get to know the technology behind all of that, behind everything that could sustain our livelihoods in our planet. I think that's fascinating as a sci-fi fan, seeing all of the movies about Mars, about the melting the ice core of Mars to create an atmosphere which is absolutely not real, but it happens both in my dreams and in the movies I've seen. I would really much enjoy to live those adventures with the safeguard to at any point in time just shoot my teleporter gun and be back in my room whenever I wish. So
What a
with that
what a
caveat, I would go.
what a fascinating answer. You want to go, but you don't want to take the trip.
yeah,
Got it.
All right, teleportation. Yeah,
Fair enough. Yeah.
I I actually might go if I were Arnold Schwarzenegger and I was involved in a Total Recall fantasy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That
Sure.
that way.
Yeah. In that case, you would get your ass to Mars.
In that case, yeah, I mean, save the girl and um, bust hunt the bad ones and save Mars and terraform Mars finally. Yeah, Total Recall. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, I don't even know how to top that. I think I'm out, honestly, on the whole go to Mars thing. I mean, I would imagine the flight would immediately get me all sorts of status because of how long that trip is. But
Hmm.
I think I'm good. Earth's pretty cool. I don't know how the food's going to be on Mars. That's why Carlos really wouldn't go because he couldn't get good food over there on Mars. Like, what is the cuisine on Mars? That's going to be the question. And until that's answered, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. All right. Well, thanks for entertaining that silliness. Let's talk about Lunar Lander Beyond. So here we go. So I'm going to start here with my little timestamp. Actually, find the timestamp here. Okay. Cool. So if you're watching the video, you will start seeing the gameplay, which I got going up on the screen right now. And if you're listening to the audio, why don't you head over to our YouTube channel and you can see all our pretty faces and see the gameplay in action here. Right now, I'm at the mission select screen. I'm just going to get this thing rolling. But while it's happening, before we start talking about the actual game itself and the gameplay itself, I want to know about the origins. What is it about Lunar Lander that captured the imagination of Dreams Uncorporated?
All right. I'd say from my point of view that the feat that we as as mankind actually step on the moon in the 70s that inspired the original lunar lander and also inspired our imagination. The feat itself, the just thinking about how a human being could step on a celestial being that is like I believe more than 100,000 miles away. So I mean the greatness of that feat that is what inspired at least inspired me to expand and create the universe around the game. That was the first inspiration that I got.
Very cool. Yeah.
As a design consultant, I must
Okay.
say that it was so. when we were talking with you guys with Ari about different IPs, with particularly with Lunar Lander, there was something interesting about the fact that it was such a simple idea, such a simple game first, but the emotions that were conveyed in that small experience were quite intense. So as with many games back in the day, when you played them, you felt a lot of stress, a lot of tension. I'm not. I mean, it was fun, but that was not like the sentiment that you were thinking about all the time while you were playing. You were tense. You were focused. You were concentrated on trying to land in the best way possible without just crashing. And that feeling, that emotion, that was something interesting that we really wanted to explore, because that lends itself to a lot of narrative elements, which is of course at the core of the design that we have at Dreams Incorporated. We tend to focus a lot, for the people that know our work from our previous works, people know that we work a lot on narrative games, and we put a lot of messages on the games that we create. So we really wanted to convey a lot of that emotion through the mechanics of a new version of that original Lunar Lander. So that was a lot of the original inspiration that we got, not only to get the same feelings that you had, but amplify them to up to 11 with this new version of the game.
How did you go about like deciding, like you said, the original game is so ridiculously hard and unforgiving. How do you strike that balance of creating something that's more approachable while also paying respects to the original itself? Like, it clearly is not trying to be the original, but at the same time it does carry the Lunar Lander name.
All right. Yeah, I okay. That's one of the trickiest part about designing a game that is basically not a sequel but a reimagining of a classic. How much we do preserve from the original game. How much are we gonna change? As Carlos said, the core feeling that inspired the whole lunar lander design was tension. And back in the day, when I replayed the original lunar lander, and I played it more like as a designer rather than as a player, like I did when I was a kid. It was that I was like, of course, what the original designers wanted was to recreate the tension and the precise, controls of the real landing missions. You only have one shot to land on the moon, for instance. If you screw it up, probably the mission would have to be aborted. I don't know, right? So with that, I mean, to me, it was clear that the central element we will have to keep in order to preserve the original spirit of the game was the tension, right? So with that as a core, as a center, we expanded the gameplay. But also, this is not the 70s. We have more technology which we can apply to game development, and also players are not the same. There are new generation of players. So I'd say the main feature we added to the gameplay of Lunar Lander was the stabilizer. That is we could say that's the pivot, the center of the gameplay was that little element, because it allows players to, I mean, if things go wrong, you can stabilize your lander, and you can save the chip at a cost of fuel, but it is a way to save to save the chip. And so I thought, okay, classic gamers, classic players who want challenge maybe wouldn't use the stabilizer at all, and also that's an achievement of the game. Uh, so okay, given what they want. They want challenge, play without the stabilizer, right? But what about those players that don't want that, that level of challenge? All right, they're the stabilizer. You pay a cost in resources, fuel, but you can stabilize your ship and recover if you need. So it was that's the I mean, and the same gameplay, the game design principle. That's what we apply to many aspects of the game. But that's the core thing. Keep the tension, but give the players tools to actually manage the challenge. And also we add attention in other ways. And the main thing we added, another way we add attention to the gameplay was the pilots, and that's the other. I would say that's the key game mechanic of the game, the stress level. And what if we consider pilots? The original Lunar Lander, the pilot was you, but the pilot itself, him or herself, wasn't part of the simulation at all. It was you as the player and your lander. But what if we introduce pilots in the equation? What if those pilots can feel fear, and can feel and can be anxious, can make mistakes, and that thing not also made us like design the stress system and insanity, and one thing led to another, and so on until we got the whole gameplay and story like designed and um, well fit together. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. So I've just been bouncing around. I was just going through the different pilots, and it's pretty cool. The trait system that you have on the pilot. So a little bit about the pilots, just to kind of give a little more color to that, is that each pilot is randomly generated. So the way the story progresses, right, is you have your core cast, which is really your crew, but you're actually controlling the pilots in the landers. And the pilots, they are procedurally generated, and they both by their looks and by their traits. So you want to speak a little bit to the trait system and how that works?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now with that we have the pilots in the simulation, and this is something. This is an idea we like scrapped. I mean, at the beginning of the project, there were one of the ideas was to have procedural generated levels, right?
Hmm. I remember.
Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, and it was cool, on paper, but it they have significant not only technical but also design challenges. So, but there is something about procedural generated content and randomness that I really love, and I thought, okay, how can we add some randomness into the game? And then I remember when I was younger playing Magic the Gathering, which is a card, those are card games. Like, yeah, I mean, you have your set of cards and you battle with your cards. The trading card game is the name. And I thought, okay, what if the pilots were cards? What if you have your deck of pilots, and you like a deck of cards in a poker or in those games, and you have to select your pilots, your cards from the ones you had on your deck, and that was the introduction of traits. So I thought, okay, what is random in each pilot? All right, the appearance, okay, the name, okay, but also the important thing gameplay wise was the traits. So that led to a very very cool decision when you have your pilots and each one has a set of traits, and you have to choose which pilot are going to pilot the lander. What pilot is gonna do the mission, right? And that choosing element, that strategic factor, um, proved to be fun in the preliminary tests. and that was the beginning of the trade system. But there is another thing. Imagine you got a pilot with a very very good trait, an OP trait, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And you're playing, let's say, on insane difficulty, and your pilots actually die. You might be very very concerned about, you will. I imagine you thinking about, okay, this is a mission. Should I risk my super OP pilot? What if I messed up? What if I screw it up? What if he or she dies? And that's something, that I imagine, like, probably I'm wrong, but I imagine like mission control, like officers, like thinking about the crew on a space mission. Or this is a really good astronaut. This I don't. what if what if I screw it up and send this astronaut to his or her death, right? So I wanted the player to have that kind of feeling, and that's another thing, that the pilots, the randomly generated pilots, and the trade system try to emulate that kind, or inspire that kind of feelings, like danger. You might lose your pilot.
Yeah, we should take a park it here for a second. I got to ask you guys, go around here and wonder what are your what are either your favorite traits or a combination that appeared when you've been playing and testing that were like, oh my god, this is awesome, or like this completely broke the game because they're too overpowered. Because I have one. I don't know, Jeff. We haven't heard from you. What do you think? You have some favorites?
I have to say that maybe well, the dragonfly and
Yeah,
picking the dragonfly and and the trade that give you like unlimited fuel because uh, that's like the OP combination for the game.
yeah.
And maybe it's the one that everyone will choose eventually. But yeah,
Yeah, the dragonfly. I think I got one that was like the dragonfly goes faster and it uses fuel half as much, and I
yep,
don't use fuel for any of my power ups. That was wild, and I just blasted through the game in that run. It's
yep.
not the easiest thing in the world because there are a few like chase moments that can get you in a sticky situation, but that's what I found. Carlos, what do you think?
I'm gonna say something controversial, but I actually like the base lander because
Same.
I
Mm,
think that it's heavily balanced, and that I really like the idea of playing the game with the let's say with the base conditions, that it feels very arcadey like, and I really enjoy that. So instead of just I actually, of course, I tried out all of the landers, and you have a lot of surprises with the latest ones that give you just so much overpowered capacities. But there's something about that original lander that I really enjoyed when I played, and I tested the stabilizer. I felt that was a great moment. I really enjoyed just going at full speed, then being able to just stop at a certain point, but just enough so I could redirect my ship to another place. I really like that. I feel, for instance, with the dragonfly, it's a little bit too fast for me.
Too
Uh,
fast?
well, the dragon. Oh no, the spider is a little too fast.
inspired.
Yeah, that one is.
The dragonfly, it's. I mean, of course, with the unlimited fuel, but if you don't have that, like you're out of fuel, like
Yeah,
extremely fast. So I like my control. I like my statuses, like being very balanced. So for me, I prefer the experience, very naked. Let's call it.
all right, you made it weird. Alvaro, what about you?
Okay, a little bit of, like, warning here. What I prefer is not the best. So guys, if you're looking like a meta or something, this is the wrong place. Yeah, my personal preference is the base lander. Is the base lander combined with fuel saver and less fuel consumption, and maybe the repair traits, one of the auto healing ones, because I like to take my time for the missions. I like to go slow, safe but steady, and yeah, that's my personal preference. But that's one of the things I love when I talk to my fellow developers and about the game, and is that there is no general consensus on what is the best or the most the liked combination of a lander and traits. It seems that everyone has their own builds for to employ a term from the RPG games. The build, the talent builds. Okay, this is more like that. Your combination of traits and lander. There is no general consensus. Some of the QA guys love the spider, and those guys are brutally insane. I will never be able to play like those guys. I have they love the spider, and they go the Fast and Furious trade, and they go basically nuts. There are guys who love the Dragonfly, especially those that don't usually play the games. I mean, the Dragonfly is easy to fly at the cost of increased fuel consumption. So they love that kind of ship. Other guys, prefer the secret ship. I won't talk about it anymore. You have to discover it in the game. And yeah, so that's the thing I love, because I feel that there is a combination for a different personality. If you are like, if you prefer to play safe, there is a combination for it. If you want to take risks, you have your lander and your set of traits, so you
Yeah.
can like play the game the way you want and the pace you want to experience.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, I do like that. Anytime you have a situation where you have multiple options and can play to multiple play styles, the biggest compliment that could possibly be made is that nobody agrees on one best thing. And I think this is one of those situations. Like you were saying when you were in early on testing, what was it like? I think what you said, your nephew or something would just jump right into the like only wanted to play as the spider because he thought the other ones were too slow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right. Well, he's a 12-year-old boy, and I mean, he usually plays things like Overwatch and Street Fighter, so fast-paced action games. He's actually a grandmaster Overwatch DPS player, uh, so he really likes fast action, and when he played like the Dragonfly, he was mad. Like, hold on, hey, there's another chip. Well, try this one. And the only thing that he had fun was with the spider, and yeah, I mean, he crashed like 4 or 5 times. Then he suddenly was an expert. I was like, okay, okay.
I think that was when as well. Was that when the hook shot? There was like a grappling hook on the spider for a
Uh,
while. Was that?
yeah,
And it was around then, I think, right?
yeah, yeah,
Do,
yeah.
do you want to
Because
talk a little bit about that? I think it's interesting to talk about some of these elements that were left on the let's say on the cutting room floor. It's just an interesting look behind the curtain. I think what we have here, what we're shipping, is a very solid, tight experience, and it doesn't really have any fat. Like anything that's there is useful for somebody or someone. But so it's interesting to know what was left out and why. I know I have one that I need to bring up. So but I want to hear about the grappling hook or anything else you want to talk about.
all right, the grappling hook. All right. I mean,
And by the
as
way, I just want to say that this is all part of the process. None of this is meant to be disparaging or anything like that, because this is how games get made. You come up with something, you think it's going to work, but you never really know how something's going to end up until you actually play it and have it in somebody's hands.
Yeah, that's video game development basically.
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of similarities between directing a video game and directing a movie, and one of those is that you have to be conscious about probably half of the scenes you record as a movie director are going to be or retaken or scrapped. And it is similar in game development. There are a lot of ideas, especially in the earlier stages of development. Everyone has ideas. Everyone. Uh, I mean, QA guys have a lot of ideas. Fellow programmers have a lot of ideas. Everyone has their own vision and their own ideas, right? And one of the things I remember Carlos telling me when, in the early stage of the process is that a good director always listen to the ideas of the development team, but he tries to keep the vision of the game. So what that means is that you need to listen to the team because they can have good ideas, but you are like a funnel. You are like a filter. You take an universe of ideas, and through a series of tests, you filter the good ones with testing, with gameplay testing, with players. The grappling hook was a good idea. On paper, it was great. I mean, the spider is called the spider because of the grappling hook. Because I mean, we wanted a lander with a grappling hook, and feel a little bit like a Spider-Man, and grappling and swinging and grappling again and that kind of thing. But it proved to be really hard to play, and it required a very very careful level design to make it work. And it seems like the trade-off was not worth. I mean, it was not worth the effort, because the surprise you might get using the spider's grappling hook didn't last enough, and it was too much of an effort to make it work. So at the end, we had to make that decision to, like, no, this is not working, and that happens all the time, and in all kind of games. And yeah, so that's the story behind the grappling hook. We want it, we try it, we test it, but it didn't work, so we have to delete it. That's all. Yeah.
It was cool, but I think the other thing that comes up is that you have level design, right, and it has to work for all the types of
Mhm.
ships that you have. So the moment you introduce one with the grappling hook, it really needed a lot of space to actually
Exactly.
grab
Yeah.
onto places. So the moment you balance something specifically for that, it might feel too easy or something for the other
Mhm.
ones. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's
It was
right.
cool. It was fun, but I definitely understand that one.
I love the grappling hook. I really
Yeah.
did love it. I
No,
got
I
to
hate it. I hate
and
Wow.
and
Wow.
and that's a beautiful thing about the, like, the game. Uh, I mean, some people like some landers, but hate another kind of lander. So it's okay. It's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lander for everyone. That's
I
what matters.
yeah. I have to bring up one particular thing that we did end up removing from the game, and this has to do with the sanity effects or the stress effects, right? So they're not. Yeah, Jeff's nodding. He knows exactly what it is because this is like this is one where I was like had a most visceral reaction to a thing. Basically, you have these effects. So I'm flying so well right now that I don't have any stress effects though, because I'm just awesome at the game. But let me just rub against this wall here, and I'm gonna get. Let me see if I can get stressed here without breaking my ship. Um, and we have these stress effects, and as you start flying poorly, you start hallucinating and seeing things. Well,
yeah.
that was originally one of the stress options. There was at one
Hmm.
point two more other stress options, and that
Hmm.
was uh, rage, which
Hmm.
was you would get basically you would just randomly start thrusting without
Hmm.
any warning. And
Hmm.
then And then the other one was it would invert your controls. Again,
Hmm.
Yeah.
seemingly on a dime. And that was oh, here we go. There's one of the cool stress effects where with the pipe snakes. Yeah, there you go. Love those guys. And man, that rage one, yes, it did its job. It definitely fit the bill and was enraging because for a game that requires you to land at the end, you would constantly be like, so if I'm going to demonstrate here, if the actual landing pad was here, I'd go in for the landing and then I'd be like, nope, just kidding, you're now flying upwards. And then I would start landing again. They'd be like, no, just kidding, you're going upwards again. And it just kept going. So
Mm.
yeah, that was one of those where again, I like the concept. It was cool in concept, but difficulty is an interesting is always a tough act to balance out. And that was one of those where it's just like, no, get me out of here. And that, oh god, oh god,
Oh my God.
oh boy, oh
Oh,
boy,
run,
yeah,
run,
Oh,
Jason.
oh no,
Oh,
ah,
I'm out of fuel. All my showing of that, yeah, no,
boom.
no.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
there you
Well,
go.
if you're an audio listener, I just got sucked into it live. Yeah, but it's
That was
that balance,
beautiful.
right?
That was beautiful, Jason. That was beautiful.
Thank you. I almost recovered quite gracefully, actually. It was almost awesome. Um, there, there's a interesting balancing act for a game like this when it comes to difficulty, right? Like the idea of this genre of a gravity flyer, right? Like it's tough to balance, I think, because we had this game playable on the floor at PAX West.
Hmm.
And by the time you hear this, we'd have already have gone to PAX East and had it playable as well. And I'm sure the same thing happened where unsuspecting players who are not familiar with the genre or the original game, um, they will struggle with the controls at first. And that's just the nature of the beast because games don't play like this anymore. And
Hmm.
it's like, how do you balance that with also challenging difficulty ramp and challenging the levels themselves without just frustrating players, especially as they're grappling with the controls, as they're trying to understand the game design, as they get a new ship and they try to wrap their hands around that. Um, how did you approach the balancing? Because that's one that I do actually. I mean, I love the game. I love the way it's turned out. But one of the things that's really impressive that I hope people pick up on is the progression of things. How you seem to give players a chance to master the controls in the game before you actually put them into a situation where you have to do what I just did and having to navigate really tough situations or even having to explore. So you want to speak to that difficulty ramp of the game for people who might be like, this seems too hard for me.
All right. Okay. Yeah. You mentioned the now extinct stress consequences. The rage and the confusion. Again, one of those ideas that looks really good on paper that proved to be not. I want to say a disaster because maybe those can work, but I say they're hard to balance, and the difficulty is easily the hardest thing to balance in a game, especially because difficulty is a subjective matter. Challenging means different for different people. So I remember again, and I remember one of the things Carlos once told me in one of endless conversation we together have had about game design, that one of the best concepts in game design was teach then test, teach test, teach test, teach test. So it's like a loop. So basically, I was conscious about the difficulty of the original lander and the original game, but I didn't want to change that because if I do, it is not a Lunar Lander game anymore. It would be something else, right? So the first was give the player a tool. All right, I'm gonna keep the controls as they are in the original game, but I'm gonna give the player the stabilizer, a way to undo a mistake, right? That was the first thing. The second is that at the first chapter, Luna is actually a training. The game is training you to fly like the general, like a gravity flyer, with thrusters. Try to give direction with the thrusters, but in open spaces. So there are many chances
Oh,
of recovering. Yep. So is
Yeah.
something
no,
wrong?
no, no,
No, no, no.
no, no, no.
They're watch. They're
Ah,
they're
Just,
okay.
just.
they're reacting to my gameplay.
All
I had
right.
it
Sorry.
my
Sorry.
controller briefly disconnected, so that's what kind of
We
screwed
Oh,
me up.
we were just
They're enamored.
enjoying. We were just enjoying seeing Jason's ship deep fried in lava. So
This
Yeah.
is one of
okay.
those testing moments in action. See, I was
Yeah.
listening. I was listening.
Yeah. So if you like, okay, you're in Mars. So basically, each planet serves as a test for the previous one. So in Luna, you basically get trained, and the last mission of Luna are a little bit challenging, but not too much. But Mars is where things get real, And the first level of Mars is a very, very, I won't say hard, but it's a test of the whole Luna missions, and so on. And gradually the game introduces you to hazards, to more like tight spaces, to those moments you have where you have to to be fast and escape from for instance from the lava, you know and yeah, so it requires a lot of game testing, a lot of level design scrapping, because the level designer, he like built a version of the level in the development engine, and then we play tested, and no, this doesn't work. Let's do it again and again and again and again until we got the progression. Basically, it's
Yeah.
design,
Trial
play
and
test,
error.
uh, trial and error. That is.
yeah, but it's important to know that that's based on the QA that we did, the
Yeah, of course.
QA field of
Hmm.
the people that were testing it, but with uh, with the mentality of working towards a great pacing experience, a great paced experience. Because as you mentioned, Jason, we tried at the beginning for you to understand the controls, to feel them, to get to know how well you can play under normal conditions, and then we start shaking up those conditions, and then we start presenting you with more challenges, presenting you with more elements that will disrupt that flow that you put yourself in. So it's going slowly into that ramp of difficulty where we really want to challenge you, but giving you all the tools for it to be a fair fight.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think that does a great job of it. I just again, if you're watching the video, you'll see that I've basically I'm entering the first level of Venus, and I'll probably die pretty quickly. But I'm gonna wrap up this demo pretty quickly. Once I die or succeed, we'll see. But yeah, I think you did a really good job of creating that escalation, especially when you get into later levels where it is less of a linear direction. It's
Hmm.
less of a linear progression through a level, and it is actually more of like a traditional like kind of level that you'd see in a game that's not like this, where you have to explore paths and find keys to open doors, and you're going in these different directions, and you're in more narrow corridors. So that really it really does put you to the test in new and interesting ways that you might not expect from when you start the game. So I think it really does a good job at that, and keeps people engaged like as they go throughout, because it's there it's a very simple concept, and one that I'm just gonna go out on a blaze glory. Pow! Oh wow! Thought that would have blown me up. 1% left. Oh, I probably have a second life ability here. Show me the pink elephant. Show me the
Yeah, we
pink
want to see
elephant.
it.
Where are you? They're just watching me, taunting me. That's cool. I like that effect. There it is. That's the end. Yeah. So you guys really did a great job at that. Um, and with that, I'm gonna stop that recording, and we will. But yeah, anything else that people should know? Anything you want people to know about Lunar Lander Beyond if they're getting into it? And that's for that can go for all you guys. Like, what would you give people advice wise as they get into if they're going to get into Lunar Lander Beyond and they're not really too familiar with the genre, they don't know what to expect. What would you say?
All right. The only thing I would like to say, this is that regardless of of your particular like, I mean, let me organize my ideas for a moment. Okay, is that this is more like this is more than a game for us, and especially for me, because even if the game may be criticized because we added the stabilizer, because it is not 100% the original experience, Lunar Lander Beyond, and I respect that opinion. It was based on the old good memories from our childhood. I remember playing the original game. I had the Atari 2600, although I didn't play and played it. I didn't play Lunar Lander on the 2600. I played on other games. I played in an arcade machine,
Yeah, that's
Lunar
that's the
Lander.
one I remember. Yep, with the
Yeah,
thruster and everything. Yeah,
yeah. So, and if, and those were the roots of the game. The feeling is there. And for instance, the UI. Many people have asked me why the UI is the way it is. Why is so weird, so old? And the answer is because computer desktops in the 80s and 90s, they use that kind of UI. Watch for instance, watch Alien. See, look at the UI of the computer of the chip, you know. And you even if you there is a little detail we added that if you select the save game, you're gonna see a floppy disk, 5.5 inches floppy disk like we used in our childhood in the 80s, you know.
depends on
So
your TV size.
yeah, I mean, so the spirit of the 80s is there.
Right.
And again, more than a game for us is a product of is a love letter to that particular decade, the 80s, and the old Atari days and the arcades. And you know that's the thing I would like to say. I don't know, Jeff or
Yeah.
Carlos.
In representation of younger people that didn't play the original game, I will say that you have to, guys, you have to try it out, enjoy the game, and of course, embrace the challenge because the game is challenging the
Right.
player like all the time. So yeah, I have to say that you have to enjoy it and embrace the challenge. That's all,
And get good.
and get good.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
mean, I get very emotional when I hear Alvaro talk about Lunar Lander and how important it is for him. But I know it's the same for the rest of the team. Everyone has put so much of them in the project, has put in so many hours, so much love, so much care for how it looks, for how it feels, for everything that we want to say in the experience. That just give it a try. Try the demo. We have demos that you can test out, that you can see if it resonates with you. Because if it does, you will definitely get a fantastic experience out of this, and you will see everything that we wanted to convey in this experience brought to reimagined in this new light. It definitely feels not only, let's say, I'm not gonna say even loyal to that original lunar lander idea, But to those 80s games, it's not only about the movies, the UI, it's about the feeling of the 80s, you know?
Yeah,
And you
Yeah.
will see it. You will see it whenever you pick up whenever
Yeah.
you rescue people, at the stations. You will get flashbacks of those really interesting games
Yeah.
back in the day. But of course, through the lens of a more modern design, where it doesn't. I mean, it is challenging, but I'm gonna say it's super fair. It doesn't feel like
No,
one of those extremely difficult arcade games from the 80s where we had to suffer through. It is of course a lot more forgiving, uh, and it's just an experience that it's definitely worth having and sharing with other people. So test it out, see for yourself how is it that we try to transform that original feeling into this new game.
yeah, well said. And we didn't even touch on the like on the characters, and I know Alvaro kind of hinted at the themes early on when first talking about the approach to designing the game, but we don't talk about the characters or the various planets that you go to and how that really expands upon it. Beyond is a very fitting name for it, as it does go beyond the moon specifically, and then you go into all these other different locales which each have their own twist and visual identity. And like if you noticed when you if you're watching the video, the winds of Venus blowing you over to the side and trying to strike you with lightning, it's rude as hell, but also very fun and interesting right when you get used to Mars. Yeah, it's very cool. And as a reference, and also talking about the throwback to the design, the fact that it's level based, level by level games. It's not trying to be this grand open world thing.
Hmm.
It is quite linear, and I mean that in the best possible way, because to go from level to level to level to level, like if you're playing this on a Switch or a Steam Deck, it is an awesome portable experience, because you can finish a level in a few minutes assuming you don't die. But this is going to be one of those situations where I can't really convey the difficulty, because you've been watching me play. I had to intentionally kill myself, except for that one time my controller disconnected. But the but for the rest of the game, it's like it comes pretty easy for me. And this was also something I experienced when we shipped Gravatar Recharged. And I thought, oh man, this is too easy. There's not enough content. People aren't going to be into it. And then all the reviews came out and they said, just like the original Gravatar, this is one of the hardest games you're going to play. I was like, what?
Hmm.
All right, fair enough. And then anytime I watch people pick up the controller and they don't know how to control a lander, I was like, all right, well, guess that's how it is. Cool, which is a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and that captures the spirit of the original. So yeah, again, excellent work, guys. Yeah, as Carlos was saying, you can play the demo now. It's still on Steam, so check that out. It should run on most PCs. So give it a whirl, and then pre-order it on your or wish list it on your system of choice. Now then, let's wrap up the podcast as we do. We're a little long on this one, but it's been a great conversation. So I really appreciate the time, guys. But I like to end all these episodes by talking about what we're playing in our own personal gaming lives. I'm just going to go left to right from what I see on screen here. So Carlos, why don't you go first? What are you playing? And I feel like three of us are
It's
playing the same game.
super
Is my guess.
easy. I mean, you know me, you know what I'm gonna answer, and it's super easy. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I know purists will say, it's not the original, it's clean tree, whatever. I am enjoying it so much. I mean, I'm a huge fan of RPGs, and I'm really liking Rebirth. It's quite an interesting game. It has a lot of I feel it's still my Final Fantasy, that hybrid system in the combat, mixing it with the other companions. I feel it's great, and even though I am very much of a DMC fan, I love Devil May Cry. I enjoy Final Fantasy Rebirth more than I did 16. I of course did 16 as well, but Rebirth feels that it hits just right.
All right, Alvaro, you're also playing Rebirth, right? So
Right.
let's
Yeah.
see your
Okay.
thoughts.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of RPGs as well. So I'm playing Final Fantasy Rebirth and a little bit of Overwatch and a little bit of Helldivers. You know, just for keep myself in shape with FPSs.
Yeah. Any of those in particular you want to speak to? Any thoughts, recommendations?
Helldivers is pretty good. It reminds me of the old Left 4 Dead 2 days. It's pretty good. I've been enjoying it. So yeah, it's nice.
There you go. So you could look for Alvaro online and spread democracy with him. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Helldivers 2, of course. I've been playing that for right now. I have like 80 hours, and of course, I'm spreading democracy for all the planets that I'm visiting. So yeah, it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I wish I had. I wish that I could make time for that game, but Rebirth is apparently like
Mhm.
150 hours long, and the way I'm playing it, I'm on chapter 4 right now. I just got there. I feel like I'm terrible at this game, and I don't quite get it. So if it's 150 hours, I think it'll probably be about maybe 200 for me. I don't think so. No, I'm just kidding. But like they do create this kind of compulsion loop that makes you want to do everything, and it's just so pretty that you just feel good walking around and doing more of those things. But man, I've never felt dumber in combat. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But Carlos, to your point, it is one of those things that is decidedly not literally a remake. Remake in the capital R remake, Final Fantasy VII remake was more of a play on that word, and it all serves as a large sequel because this series has now been Kingdom Heartsified, and I guess we just gonna have to roll with it, and hopefully it doesn't get that convoluted and weird. But I
It
look
will.
forward. Huh? What's that?
It will.
It will. Oh, jeez. They say it's a trilogy, so hopefully it just ends at that point. Um, but yeah, thanks. But let's wrap that up there. Again, thank you, Carlos, Alvaro, and Jeff. Um, yeah, we could talk forever, honestly. We've spoken
Yeah.
a lot, and yeah, so it was great to have this extended conversation about Lunar Lander. It would have been great to dive in deeper and talk about you know developing out of Bucaramanga in Colombia, and
We'll have time. We'll
your
have time.
prior game Chris Tales, and how that was like the and how Lunar Lander Beyond was probably before it was called Lunar Lander Beyond. um it was probably the fastest approval we've ever given for a pitch at Atari, so that was pretty cool. And then to see it is to think about it from that perspective to where it is now, it's really exciting stuff. So thanks a lot for all the hard work,
Thank
and
you for the opportunity,
Thank you.
Jason. It
and
means
here's
the
Yeah.
and
world
here's
to
the
us
release.
that you like what we're creating and all the effort that we've put into this.
Totally, and I look forward to you all seeing that firsthand on April 23rd when Lunar Lander Beyond comes out on, again, all those consoles and PC. So check that out then. Again, if you've gotten this far, that means you probably like what we're doing. So please give us a review and subscribe and tell your friends about the podcast. And that's it. Oh, right, of course. I always like to end with this. Carlos, where can people follow you if they wanted to? Are you on the socials? Are you anywhere? Or Dreams, perhaps? Where should people go to if they want to see what you're up to?
Dreams Uncorporated, both on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the socials, the usual socials. Just look for us. We usually show a little bit of what we're doing. Not the most active on on social media, but we really do love to share a little bit of what we are creating at the moment. So yeah, that's where you can find us.
Good stuff. Alvaro, what about you? Anywhere you want people to find you? Walking the streets of
Um,
Bucaramanga?
yeah, I'm not, like the best social media user. So you can like drop me like an email to Alvaro at uncorporated.co, CO. Um, and yeah, that's it. If you want to like, maybe have a conversation about design, or I'm at the Atari server in Discord, so you can like send me a private message there and start talking.
Love it. Let's send him some fan mail. Jeff, what about you? Anywhere you want people to find you, or you could just stay hidden anonymous?
Yeah. Everyone can find me in Instagram, Twitter, or X. I don't know how to, name it. And of course, Facebook, but no one uses it anymore. Has Jeff Cardenas. That's all. You can find me like that.
I'll have those links in the description below as well. So follow them, say nice things, send them some love. You can follow me at Jays of Doom. You could send me love or hate. I don't, whatever. It's fine.
Or both.
Or both.
Or both.
And yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you next time.
Thank you for having us.
See ya. Bye bye.